I do have specific corporate shows. Like I said earlier, we've done some virtual. I've been doing this forever in real life. My magic is very adaptable.
Today, it's my pleasure to welcome in the studio David Goldrake. Welcome.
Thank you.
David is a very interesting character. He's a magician, he's a Luxembourger, and he made it to Las Vegas. This is why I invited him. So maybe can you start telling us your own story?
My own story. I started performing magic professionally in 1999, so it's going to be 25 years this year. I started performing in Luxembourg, expanded my career through France, Belgium, all the surrounding countries, Germany. And in 2002, I started performing at the Magic Castle in Los Angeles. And I became a yearly regular there, sometimes twice to three times a year, until in 2014 I got the opportunity to work at the GSR in Reno for 3 months. And
it's a casino. Huh?
It's a casino. It was the biggest indoor stage in the world at the time. They still have a Boeing backstage that is huge.
A Boeing
a big
backstage.
Boeing, yes,
Tell us how
backstage,
big
not
it
on
is.
stage, yes. And so once I was there, I started having guests from Vegas, from the surrounding area, telling me more and more about my work, complimenting me, giving me feedback, and I felt that I was ready for Vegas, the next step, which had always been on my radar. And I started approaching different entertainment directors, exploring the city, finding out how the city works financially, economically, artistically. And eventually I decided to just jump. I started reaching out to the entertainment directors who book the shows. And I started looking for investors here in Luxembourg. And in 2017, we opened the show in Vegas.
In Tropicana.
At the Tropicana, yes.
And I think you told me the business model changed in the middle of the 90s.
Yes.
Before that, you would have been paid
Correct.
by the venue.
Yes.
And after 95, what happened?
Yeah. So Siegfried and Roy are blamed for what happened, and they are partially responsible in the sense that Steve Wynn was a huge fan of Siegfried and Roy, and he decided to build the Mirage around their whole image and the whole mythology that they had represented in Vegas. And then he opened the Bellagio, and they realized people are willing, producers are willing to jump on board and take off some of the burden from the casino. And they realized if that happens, we don't have to pay the acts anymore, they will pay us. So casinos started to just back up and offer the rooms for rent. And that's when four-walling, as they call it, started. That means that you get the room, you pay either rent, you definitely pay for the staff, you pay for advertising on property sometimes, sometimes not. You pay for your own advertising all over the world and the city, you pay your own staff, you pay everything. The revenue is partially yours, and you're on your own. So you're your own producer, and it's not the casino anymore.
Yeah, so I know that in Vegas, the best poker player get investors.
Yes.
To dilute the risk.
Correct.
So did you find your investors in Vegas or in Luxembourg or where?
I found them here in Luxembourg.
Okay,
I reached out to the people that I knew first. I also hired someone who was in the financial industry to help me out, present a better picture, do a better homework. And we were able to raise the capital that we needed to open.
Okay, so suddenly you are renting a room of 1,100 seats.
Correct.
In the legendary Tropicana.
Yes.
How did it go?
Very, very exciting. We had lots of ups, we had lots of downs. We happened to be there during a period where we started in June, and October 1st there was a big shooting at the Mandalay Bay, which was reported worldwide. So the city was dead for quite a while. We struggled, all of us struggled to get people back, not just into the showrooms, but into the city. So that had a big impact that no one counted on. But otherwise, it was really great. It was very challenging because at the end of the day, even though I'm the artist, the performer, my role is also to sell tickets. It's mostly to sell tickets. And that becomes your priority. I still speak to my colleagues nowadays, whether it's David Copperfield, Chris Angel, and everyone else, their job is to sell tickets. The show is their main priority in their head, but pragmatically, they get up at 4 or 5 a.m., check the sales. We need to boost this, we need to sell more tickets there. How can you help us do this? It's all about making revenue rather than having a beautiful and great artistic show.
Okay, very American approach in this case. So I think it worked well because you renewed for one more year.
Yes.
And when you were selling those tickets, is it mostly with social networks? Are you buying billboards at the airport of Las Vegas, or how do you get those people in?
Both. We had local ticket brokers. We had the concierge at all the hotels. We paid them visits every 2-3 weeks, bringing them bagels, donuts,
Wow.
pizza, whatever, just to remember, just to have them remember us.
Yes.
And have them sell our tickets. We had a big taxi day the first 2-3 weeks of the opening, after the opening, so we invited all the taxi drivers in town, Uber, Lyft as well.
Wow.
So the goal is that when someone lands in Vegas and they ask the cab driver, where should we go? Go see David Goldrake. Because David Goldrake just invited me and my family last week. That's the reason.
Okay, so very down-to-earth marketing, the old way, but the efficient
Yes, very
way.
efficient. And the reason is that Vegas still works on this old model, and the lifespan of the tourist or the stay is mostly 2 to 3 days. People don't come there for 3-4 weeks.
Sure.
So it's always very short term. We have used social media. We did the targeted geolocalization ads as well. But the on-site and the established ways were the most efficient.
I can imagine a billboard at the airport must be expensive at the arrival gate.
Yes, very expensive.
So you make it 2 years in a row in your dream destination, and then COVID hits.
Yes.
What do you do? I guess the city shut
The
down.
dream turns into a nightmare for everyone.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah, the city shut down. Every casino was closed. There was nothing going on the strip. I actually went out and did some videos that I published on my social media for people to see. It was just a desert. The desert had expanded to the strip. And like most of my colleagues, I wondered, what am I going to do? Initially, I believe it's true for everyone. I hope I'm not wrong, but we all thought it's going to be 1 month, 2 months.
Exactly.
And then life continues. And then you realize, no, that's not what's happening. So I reached out to some friends who are tech savvy. I have good friends who have a huge production studio, and I told them as quickly as we can, we're going to sell tickets for virtual shows. So I put together a show that was aimed for cameras, interactive as much as I could, including some grand illusion. We shot some segments outdoors in the desert that were also showcased. And we started selling tickets to those shows that were not only sold publicly, but also to corporation.
Wow.
We actually had a big Luxembourgish, not a Luxembourgish company, but the company is established in Luxembourg. And they hired me for one of their family events, and we had about 600 people watch the show.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So a very fast resilience.
Had no choice.
I think that's a big point we'll come back to. I guess in America, you cannot go to the state and ask for money.
No.
You need to deal with your own thing.
Yes.
And that's what you did. So after that, you took another venue, I think, a Notoriety.
Notoriety, yes.
And what are you up to right now, 2024?
So 2024 is kind of a renaissance year, I would call it, because it's taken a while after COVID for everything to come back to where it was or where it should be, and it still isn't there fully. So I took a lot of time to analyze, what do I want? Where do I want to go? The strip is not necessarily an option at this point. I've been talking to everyone, and people's habits have changed. They don't go to shows anymore that much. They go to big concerts, Adele, Katy Perry, all the big names. And even those people, you may have read recently that Jennifer Lopez had to cancel 6 huge concerts because they didn't sell tickets.
Wow.
So people's habits have changed. And I'm not sure the strip is the right place to be. And yet I would like to be back just to have an established show and be able to tour around it. We are dealing with some TV production companies in the US to see if we can pitch one or few TV shows. That's still in the making. I'm touring all over the country, in the US mostly. And I'm planning to do something next year here in Luxembourg to celebrate my 25th anniversary.
Super.
So those are the short-term goals.
Perfect. So you're one of the few international heroes of Luxembourg. I'd like to name with you Léa Linster. When I went to Paul Bocuse, he was asking me, how is Léa doing?
It's fantastic.
I'm thinking Gas Valzin,
Yes.
who got a Grammy Award.
Correct.
There's a few people like you, of course, Andy Schleck, wherever you say in America you're a Luxembourger, they ask you about Andy. So just tell us, what are the main keys for you to be successful abroad?
Okay. Wow. First, successful in general. It depends on your definition of success, but I think it requires an incredible lot of focus and even more work. Because that's what I've always, I remember someone who really didn't like me when I was 16, 17, looking at me and going, all you have in your head is Vegas and your boxes, and you'll never make it. And I'm this little kid and goes, I'll show you. And so it was just focus, lots and lots of work, sacrifices, commitment. But if you go abroad, I think it's there are a few factors. I think it's a very multi-layered question. First of all, I think you need a unique and very personal identity and point of view. If you have something that everyone else can deliver, there's no point in going there. And then once you're there, I think it's important to understand the territory you're in. Especially in today's globalized world, I feel that we all neglect to view the world through the other person's lens. Everyone assumes, I assume that you see the world the way I see it. I assume that you've had the same experiences I've had. But if you come from Luxembourg to the US and all of a sudden they say, oh, we're using checks, and you go, oh, we haven't used checks in 20 years,
At least.
doesn't matter, go get checks. Play the game according to the country or the environment that you're in, because otherwise it will be an uphill battle all the time and you'll never win. So learn your environment and then surround yourself with the best people that you can in that environment that will help you, that will share your vision and help you achieve that goal, whatever that is.
And in this dynamic, do you think social networks are making things easier to reach out to people across borders, or harder in a way that it's not just a point of view that people have very strongly defined, but also now opinions?
Yes, it's a great question, fascinating question. I'm not sure yet, and yet I think, because I've thought about it obviously, I think it has diluted everything. Instead of helping or facilitating approaches, it just becomes a clique. I have friends, literally friends, business people, sometimes very successful. They collect connections on LinkedIn. And I'm like, what's the point? Well, it never hurts. You know, I can have cancer and drink an orange juice. It will never hurt, but it won't help me either. And that's how I see the social networking nowadays. It's become a very easy and fast solution that makes you feel, oh, I'm connected with that person, but there's no rapport, there's no relationship, there's no connection. And I think the human element is still important. I mean, I follow you on LinkedIn. I read your articles every day. They're very inspiring, challenging, thought-provoking. And I like them, or I celebrate them, I love, I support, whatever it is, but I put some effort in it. Why? Because I know you. We met years ago. I'm very good friends with Adam Chire, the founder of Siri. Same thing, we're connected on LinkedIn, but the personal connection happened first. I have so many connections that we connected because, oh, we have a mutual connection, or you might be a good contact, but what happened? Nothing.
I agree with you, and I always give this example that some people use a little engine that as soon as you accept them, you immediately see a message pop up. It's an automation that says, hey,
yes.
David,
Yes.
have you know my... And people would never do this in real life. They would not come up to you and say, hey, my card, I'm Jerome.
Yes.
But they do that in a virtual world.
Correct.
So I share your point of view that there's a fantastic opportunity there,
Yes.
but you need to be serious about it.
Yeah, you need to nurture it, you need to delve deeper into it, and I feel like a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, of course. Also, young people want to collect. There's this group
Yes.
effect. You want to belong, of course. Have you learned other lessons that you could share with people from Luxembourg? And there's a lot of good news here. I'm thinking about a company like Salonki. I don't know if you heard of them. They do a software. It's Luxembourgers.
Yes.
They do a little software for hairdresser and beauty centers.
Yes.
And they just raised 35 million euro. Never
read
heard of
about
that in Luxembourg before.
Read about that, yeah.
So we now see champions reaching out. What would you advise them to do when they go to Germany, to Finland and those countries?
Again, learn the environment you're in. Don't assume that Luxembourg is the world, because I've realized that that's what happens a lot, especially in our country, because we're so small and yet we're surrounded by everyone else. We think that, oh, we're so influenced by everyone, we're so cosmopolitan. We're not. So just be open-minded. Listen. That's another thing that a lot of people don't do anymore. We just listen to reply. Just listen to absorb and learn potentially. And that's what I would recommend those people to do. Watch, observe what's going on, listen, try to listen with the intention of learning, and then take what's useful for you and apply it. And those people, once you cross the border, I think there's no limit. Don't fall into that trap. There's a Luxembourgish gentleman who called it the Luxembourgish diaspora years ago. Don't fall into the trap that you go abroad with the big dream and then you realize, oh wait, it's not that easy. It will never be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. So assume that it's going to be impossible, but once you're out there, keep going. Just open yourself up and hustle, hustle, hustle. Because you will always, here it's easy to be the top guy, but once you're there, you're the underdog, always. So never stop. You're always at the bottom. Even if you're at the top, consider yourself at the bottom because that's how you'll remain at the top.
Yeah, to your point, I think we first met in 2005, so obviously you were already going at the Magic Castle. You didn't tell me at the time, you just told me your dream was to make a big show, some grand illusion in Vegas, and you did it.
Yeah.
So all respect for that, it's a
thank
fantastic achievement. So maybe a natural question, you do some shows for companies, or I hope for the 25th anniversary that the city of Luxembourg will give you the Cercle Municipal, for example.
That'd be great, yes.
I'm confident they will do it. I mean, it would be a great opportunity for them too. But if businesses are willing to book you,
yes.
Are you available in Luxembourg?
Yes, I'm here for a very limited time. I'm leaving in June, but I may be back in winter for 2 months only. And I do have specific corporate shows. Like I said earlier, we've done some virtual. I've been doing this forever in real life. My magic is very adaptable in the sense that, again, I listen. My show is you-focused. It's not about me, it's about the audience. So if a finance company walks up to me and says, can you tailor your show according to our message, to our values? We did that with one of the big Luxembourgish banks in 2008. They had 7 new values internally. I was the guy to present them to the team. They had the theater, we had 1,400 people, and I did an entertaining show with a message. So yes, if there are companies that are interested, I'm here. I can do the show in 7 languages.
How do they contact you?
I have a website, www.davidgoldrake.com. Social media, Facebook is David Goldrake Official, Instagram it's David Goldrake, LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, David Goldrake. So the world is open for everyone to reach us.
And that's going to be my recommendation for CEOs, of course. Takes advantage of the fact that we have an international magician here in Luxembourg. David, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joel.